All right, good morning, everybody. 10 o'clock here. Welcome to School District 72 Liaison Committee meeting, confirming that we do have quorum here today, and I'm calling the meeting to order. Adoption of public agenda.
Move adoption.
We have a seconder on that? Second by Director, or Jan Gladish? Director? Am I calling you? Trustee. Yes, Trustee Gladish. Any petitions and delegate, or all in favor of adoption of public agenda? And against? Unanimous? Petitions and delegations? I'm not seeing any. Adoption of previous meeting minutes.
Move adoption.
All in favor? Business arising from minutes. Anybody have any business arising from last meeting's minutes? Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to use your mic?
Which one was it? Right there. Just wanted to revisit the frequency of meetings. I know we said we would do it quarterly, but school district really runs on a 10-month year, which means every 2 months, so it's pretty quick and tight. And I was just wondering whether the committee wants to reconsider semi-annual meetings, or not.
I think if I made sure, I think in the terms of reference, we have some latitude in there. I don't think we wrote quarterly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
There's some am I correct, would you say, Tom? Again, in the terms of reference, I'm pretty certain it said that.
Yes, I think there's quite a bit of flexibility from our perspective. We understand the school district does have a slightly different annual schedule. So I think it's really whatever the committee determines to be the best for all parties.
Okay.
And we do have a staff report coming on that as well on the agenda, so there'll be a chance for discussion there. Chair reports, none. Staff reports, committee meeting schedule.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we have Edith Watson, who's been communicating with the school district representative, and she may want to elaborate on what the proposal has been and the discussions that have taken place.
Great, thank you.
Hi, thank you, and through the chair. So we have done a little bit of research on the availability of school district trustees and staff.
Is there a way you can mic?
There we go.
There we
Sorry.
go. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sorry. Through the chair, Natalie and I have done a little bit of research regarding availability of trustees and staff for the school district, and have some dates that show good availability for meeting considerations in 2024. So those dates are between February 13 or 14, March 5 or 6, May 7 or 8, or May 16th.
So any discussion on that? I'm not seeing anything in the fall, is that right?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Does anybody have any discussion, preferences, or points on this?
Staff are here every day, so it's more the elected folks what fits into their schedule.
You know, for me, hearing that, you guys are on 2 semesters, I think twice a semester would be great to meet. But, open to thoughts of everybody else as well.
So I'll just point out, Jeff, Natalie's already looked at your calendar. She doesn't have access to Shannon or Jan's calendar, so.
Yes, we have February 13th or 14th, March 5th or 6th, May 7th or 8th, and May 16th with nothing in the fall yet. I'd love to see a fall date as well. Is this something that we could, send out and confirm over email rather than having to decide today? Does that make sense, Edith? Do we need to make a motion for that?
Mr. Chairman, no, I don't think so. I think the direction's pretty clear, so we'll send out basically a survey to the individuals and see what their availability is.
Great. Okay, moving on, correspondence and none, director's reports. All of these things were things that were carried over from the last meeting, all things that I added. And so I'll just give a verbal report on them. Emergency preparedness for school. So this was coming, specifically for Cortez. Students are missing 5 to 10 days of school every year because of power outages. And the school is also a emergency meeting center in case of an emergency on the island. And if there was an emergency on the island and the power was out, it would sort of make that space unusable. And given that the kids are missing 5 or 10 days of school per year, which is significant, I'd love to explore the possibilities of a backup power system, whether that's through a generator or some kind of power wall situation. But I'd love to hear thoughts from other folks on that too. I've done some initial reach out to like how much is this going to cost to some contractors in Cortez, and rough numbers. Don't quote me on this, but somewhere around 60,000. It looks like this might cost. But
Just for my interest, I wasn't aware that, is the school in an emergency evacuation center as well? Oh, this one never works. Yeah, no, I got it. Oh, there's maybe too many there.
I'll turn it off. I'm not sure. My understanding is that it's an emergency meeting place.
Okay, we could explore that. So we had a bit of a discussion about, we have a grant and aid policy here, is that we don't provide grant and aids to other levels of government, just not the school. And we had a request from the Cortez principal in terms of funding some, what would look like some core school district infrastructure. Having said that, if in fact the school is an evacuation center in EOC, we could look at doing something in terms of a partnership there. If the school serves a dual purpose, I don't know that, we can confirm that, but.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of a common interest here, the school being something SRD's connected to through the emergency situation, but then, school district side that this is like really an education issue for young people there.
So I know a number of years back, our manager of operations and Sean, I believe, had talked about with it being an EOC of whether the emergency program would purchase a generator for the school site. And I didn't progress or proceed, and I haven't heard any more further conversation about it since then. I would probably look to Phil to talk about the number of days missed. Because of power, we only run one school on a generator, but it's runs all the time because there's no other power. So we don't have a large fleet of generators that we just throw out for those power out days. And unfortunately, we don't have a threshold for how many days need to be missed in order to look at that sort of investment. So there definitely could be potential for partnership there. I think that would benefit. Of course, we would be maintaining, repairing, servicing if it was being used for operations on some of those power out days. But the initial purchase at this point, just based on our operations, we haven't determined that it meets that threshold for days missed. So, but again, there could be an opportunity for partnership there that I think could work.
They're working now. Oh, look at that magic, eh? So if there is dual purpose, certainly I think that's more opportunity if it's an emergency evacuation center or an EOC or something like that. We have certain amount of funds that we have available to us, whether they be gas tax or grant and aids. They all come with strings attached, but again, if it's a dual purpose, I'm going to say there's greater opportunity. So I think we can explore that in a partnership and share. Like if the school is in fact a community evacuation center, then that's something, let's say for gas tax. Gas tax wants funds to be available for all members of the community to use and access. And again, if it's supported in EOC, I think the likelihood of that is higher. And we're happy to explore a partnership in terms of that. So
I believe there's a shipping container on site that has equipment. I thought it was for EOC purposes.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't, a formal agreement though, I don't know if that's been done.
Is there someone willing to make a motion here to get a staff report and start investigating this? If you want to just turn your mic on and then you have to make a motion.
So the motion, and you might want to edit it, would be to explore the potential partnership between a school district and SRD to provide some generator assistance to the EOC school. You can edit that if you like.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ruth.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Yeah, against? Okay, seeing none. That passes. I guess we missed receipt of the report, didn't we?
Mr. Chairman, it was just a verbal report.
Okay, so that does not need to be received.
Willing to receive.
Okay, great. Okay, use of school property for housing. So this is, something that, I've seen other school districts use across the province as we, sort of face a housing crunch in all parts of the province, and school districts do have a lot of land. And there have been cases in other places where school districts have explored and used school district land for housing, specifically for teachers. And I think there's certainly interest of that in my community, and I think it's an opportunity in all of our communities, given that land is expensive, and that often schools, certainly in rural places, are struggling with finding places for teachers to live.
Mr. Chairman, I will apologize for the spelling and the title of this item.
Especially that's considered school.
it was actually a test because we're with the school district to see if they catch that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, schooled. We're all getting schooled. So you just wanted to really start the discussion here. I think there's opportunity. I think we all know that there's a housing challenge, and getting teachers housing can be a way to attract them to communities, and just looking to start the discussion.
On that note, I have a question, if I may, out of just curiosity. You mentioned generator, and I think you're talking about Reed Island. The school, I'm assuming the district has some unique relationship housing with the teacher there. Maybe I'm totally wrong. And I think what Director Vonish might be hinting at is there's some opportunity, possibly on Cortez, but it seems, I'm assuming you must have been fairly creative with the teacher on Reed Island, or not? I don't know.
We have a teacherage on Reed Island. That teacher, the one teacher that teaches there, lives in.
Do you, if I may, do you have a house available for them, or do they rent
yeah.
independently, or does the school district take care of that?
It's on school district property.
So you own a house?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there interest from this committee in having staff and school district work together and look at this even as a potential?
One of the things that we're very aware of is the school district to the south of us and how much they have been growing, especially student-wise. I think they grew by 450 more students than they had last year. And we're just starting to see a little bit of that crunch moving up the Campbell River. And the housing projects that exist in the city of Campbell River already, when we look at a 10-year plan, are starting to look like, okay, with some of the properties we have, we may have to earmark those for another school. So we just want to be aware from a school district perspective that we're not utilizing property for another purpose when we're going to need it for its original purpose, which is school children.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just. It keeps rebooting.
Maybe we'll go here first while Dave's getting sorted out.
Sure. I think if this is a request specifically for Cortez Island, at this point, we haven't had a need for it. So there's a teacherage on Quadra because there was no other place for people to stay. So that teacherage has been there for quite some time. We're actually in a fortunate place right now where on nice days that teacher could actually commute back and forth to Quadra. Doesn't have to stay on that site because you only get power with a generator and it's less comfortable. But when the weather's poor, she can stay there. For Cortez, I have not heard a concern or a need for a teacherage. As you probably have heard, just like us, some communities are looking at doing that. I know like Dees Lake has like 3 condos they own for staff as they come in and out. But they are having difficulty attracting people. So there's a capital investment that would be needed to do that. So the demand really has to be high. Like something that like we're very conscious about, and I know I probably speak on behalf of the board, is if we have $1, it's going to kids, right? So if there's rather than the sort of nice to haves and if there's a question between a nice to have and an impact in the classroom, it's going to the kids in the classroom every time. So, if we were having trouble to recruit teachers out to Cortez, then that's something that we would definitely look at, and we would look at fairly quickly. But if or until that time, we will likely be directing resources to other things for kids before that point. I know when it comes to, so that's for the teacherage part. I understand with the landlord tenancy issues. Pacific Rim has had some brutal experiences with their UQLIT teacherage that they have in that you recruit a teacher out to the West Coast. The teacher retires and the teacher is entitled to stay there until they give up their rental. You have to go through a formal eviction process. So basically, there's a lot of extra administration and hassle that you'll have to go through when you take that on. So amongst school districts, you only do it if you have to.
Yeah.
It's not usually progressive. If you want to look at other types of housing, so let's say there was BC Housing wanted to go to Cortez and set up some units. The property available, so there's vacant properties on Quadra Cortez that potentially are available for things like that. We have some of the properties, when they were acquired by the school district, were provided in trust by a private sale is possible, but we have few island properties that are held without a trust clause on it. So, yeah, so really what we would do and what we have done, because we have transferred the Cortez Island Co-op, is we wait for an interested party to come. When I have made inquiries with the Crown Agency about, we just don't want them, they won't take them until somebody is interested in acquiring that site, so. So that's kind of some of our housing issues and considerations for all of our school district sites, so.
Thank you. It's certainly hearing you on the dollar side of things and that you're already, you want those dollars go towards kids. My initial reason for starting the conversation, I think, was not around asking the school district to build the housing and put the funds in. It's more around, is there some excess land that can be used, and not just on Cortez but across the district. I know we lost a teacher and their family last year because they couldn't find stable housing. There's a teacher at the school right now that's living in a house that the landlord comes home for in the summer. So it is a challenge, and really not looking for dollars, really just looking for exploring the idea of using some land.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we wouldn't be interested in, or want to, my mic's not working, buy land or sell it to somebody, but is there the availability, is the district interested in us exploring something where if there's the availability of land that we can either look at a nonprofit and BC Housing to do something to support teacher living. That's what our intent is, that, we don't need to own the land or anything, we're just looking to provide, the regional district is doing lots of things, let's say to support healthcare workers, is that the region is having challenges attracting doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, so we're looking at providing housing for that. And so in the same note with teachers, we got islands out there, and is there an interest from the district just to explore something, whether they be, not land transfers, but leases, and look to advocate with BC Housing to support that? Is there something we can pull together? I think long-term, like Jeff was mentioning, every district I hear on the radio is more and more kids. We're building a lot of housing here, and you can see the province is building more and more housing. That's gonna mean more kids, and so you guys are gonna need, the province is gonna have to fund you more schools, which means more housing, and then the teacher issue. We here, and I'm sure the district too, we have challenges recruiting staff because there's nowhere in Campbell River for them to live, and we see other areas. So if it's something that the district, I don't know what that model looks like, but if it's something the district's interested in, like you say, it's not a problem today, but that teacher says, I'm tired of this gig, and you try and recruit somebody else, then, I want something more stable. Is the district interested in us looking at pursuing some kind of model of partnership with funding to stabilize that, where, we're looking to do that with the fire hall as well, like Cortez needs a fire chief. Doesn't come, I don't think, as any big shock that the fire chief over there wouldn't pay the same as the fire chief in Campbell River. So how do they come, how do you recruit one, and then there's nowhere to live in it? So can we package something together? We're having to look at these all the time now, because housing is such an issue, pay is an issue, and if it's not an issue today, it's certainly going to be.
I'll just, so what we can do is I can provide a list of properties that are school district owned with a little flag on whether there's a trust clause or not. Again, usually the best is if that is shared and there is a property that looks like it may work, then I would take it to the board and get approval from the board at that time to start looking at some of those options.
I think it's in our all best interest, it doesn't have to be the right purpose for so we're looking to accommodate these people that work there. And so if there's opportunity, then we can collectively advocate for NLA or the province, BC Housing, somehow plug that gap, because we're not the only ones, there's other communities that have the same challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking that first step. And, we're just really looking, I think, bringing the SRD and the school district together here is how can we work together and do stuff that's innovative and show leadership, not just in the district, but like be leaders in the province of like doing innovative ways that are, helping our kids get a better education and supporting our communities and us working together. And I think there's just so much opportunity for collaboration. And, I know these are big questions and potentially expensive questions. And, I think the first step is just like a willingness to like, okay, what is the potential here? So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, any other comments on that? Okay, last one, community consultation for facility construction on Quadra Island. So when I first got nominated to this committee, I put a call out saying, is there anything you want me to bring to this committee? And this is something that the Quadra Island regional director brought to me, just with some concerns around, it's great that they're getting a daycare center there. And she received quite a bit of feedback from the community that maybe the location of it wasn't, basically a playground had to be taken down. And there was a bunch of pushback from the community. So really just sort of just wanting to put that out. I mean, you might be already aware of this and just wanted to share it with the committee.
Phil, you want to take that one? So just to give you a kind of a background, in 2019, the district was approached by the Quadra Children's Center about partnering. They were outgrowing their current space, and so that conversation occurred. We looked at using the school space, but because of licensing and some challenges, it wasn't appropriate. In 2020, we were looking at the New Spaces grant through the Ministry of Children and Family. And we worked with the Quadra Children's Center, connected with Director Abrams about whether or not it was something the community wanted. And he was very supportive, wrote a letter of support. That first intake, we weren't successful. Following year, we put another application in. It was successful. And so we found out in April 2022. And we put a call out to the principals to kind of give us ideas of ideal locations. And we had those ideal locations from the principal of Quadra, and she had connected with staff and I believe PAC at the time. And they identified two ideal locations. One was in the back on land that they deemed unsuitable for kids to play because it's waterlogged and such, and then another spot. And we walked around there with our architects and our engineers, and the first spot, the ideal spot, they estimated it would be about $1 million to $1.5 million extra to build there because it was waterlogged, it was elevated, challenges there, and so when I say that's over and above our budget that we had received from the province. And when we looked at the second spot, it was about $500,000 where it was, and then there was really only one spot that it could be built. So we informed the principal of the school in August, and they shared it with the school PAC. And kind of the feedback came back, what about these spots? And we're like, we've looked at those spots because from my perspective, from the district perspective, it doesn't matter to me where it goes. Like there's some pragmatic pieces, but we don't want to disturb. So fast forward, the first feedback we got from community was May 2023. Some questions about why did we pick that spot. It's near the driveway at the front of the school, so it didn't actually pull down any playgrounds. It was a wide open space near the gardens. And so the footprint of the childcare is probably about 25 to 30% of that space in the front. So there's still 75% of wide open space. The school likes it because it doesn't flood like the back. Mm-hmm. So it's a prime play area. And then we hired our general contractor and they put up a fence, and then more people started providing feedback. And probably 90% of the feedback was, why can't it be here or here, the two identified spots? And I sent a letter out to community identifying kind of what I've just said and explained the process. So there were two kind of groups that kind of gave feedback. There was PAC and general community, and what I'll call self-proclaimed grannies. And that's what they called them, so I'm not using that as an insult or a moniker. They described themselves as community grannies, and they had a vested interest in Quadra. So we worked with the PAC, and so we took feedback from the PAC concerns, and so we actually reoriented the building to take less of a footprint. We made sure we protected the garden, we protected some trees, so we got feedback, we made changes to that, and the feedback we had gotten from people, well, I asked the blunt question, really, this is where our engineer said it can be, so is it something important enough to communicate? Do we cancel the project or do we proceed? Other than the granny group, everybody said, don't cancel it, we need childcare. Because, we recognize if it's something community doesn't want, if the Quadra Children's Center doesn't want it, it's too much of a political hotbed, we'll walk away right now sort of thing. Well, I asked that question of the PAC and the parents that had contacted me and of the Quadra Children's Center. They all said, no, let's make it the best we can given our concerns, but we still need that. And so kind of that resolved itself. The only group I keep hearing from is the granny group. And once again, not to insult, but that's how they self-identify. That's the first thing that they say in the conversation. So we made some mitigation based on feedback from the community. So excavation started in August, and we used a local company and we sourced the fill locally. It's kind of a blessing in disguise, partly because of the delay and kind of shifting. And I want to point out that twice we came to the SRD and got permits that were approved with the original siting and the resiting. The rain fell and the actual fill wasn't appropriate, so it's actually delayed the process, but it's good that we found out before we put the foundation in. And so we've re-excavated the site and put in kind of new fill with some new engineering, with kind of the plan for foundation, footings, walls and everything to be kind of mid-January. So that's where we are now. Hindsight 2020, probably should have communicated the plan earlier because a lot of the feedback was they thought it would be an ugly portable in the front. 90% of the feedback was about aesthetics. We don't want something ugly standing there in front of the building as people drive by to the ferry. That was 90% of the feedback. So it is a stick-built building with a foundation, engineered. We have 7 sites going. School District 72 is running 6. This one is being outsourced to the Quadra Children's Center. All the buildings are identical and follow the same plan. They're nice-looking buildings, so it won't be an eyesore. The big concern complaint was it takes about 25% of the play area. What we also have to recognize, it's a school of 110, whose play area, if you look at the back field, there's a lot of play area for 110 kids. But it was that piece of, I think some misinformation went out about what the building was going to look like. When we explained that we had actually considered the things that they were throwing at us now, that alleviated a lot of the concern. The response from the granny group was cancel the childcare. Our grandkids don't need it, so we'd rather have 25 kids inconvenienced than the other 85. And, the realization, we aren't going to make everybody happy, but we checked before the construction that it was something community wanted. And even when kind of some of the concerns came up, we checked, do you still want us to proceed? It has to be at this spot. It's not like we're going out of our way to pick the spot that alienates everybody. We really had, it's going to cost us an extra $1 million here, an extra $500,000 here, or we can do it within budget here. Those were our 3 choices, and we kind of proceeded. So that's the story.
Thank you. Really appreciate the detailed explanation and the process. And, honestly, congratulations on getting this funding together and getting a childcare space there. I know it's really important to the island, and really appreciate all the effort and understand community consultation is tricky. And it's great these grannies are so engaged, and it sounds like most of the community is happy.
And the feedback that they're getting now is speed it up. Come on.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Those
What's
are the
taking so long?
emails I'm getting now. It's like, why is it taking so long?
Yeah, it's like, well, we had to go.
Water is a quadra challenge
Yeah.
in some spots, and we needed to make sure that it was the foundation was stable and we're confident now. And we just met with the general contractor and the architects, and so we expect walls and trusses by mid-January, depending on the weather. So right now we're just paused because of what do they call them? Rain, atmospheric
floods.
river. So.
Yeah.
But that concern also delayed the start of the project by 3 months?
Yeah.
Which was actually a blessing, because if we had completed the foundation in September, we
Interesting.
wouldn't have realized some of the challenges. So things happen for a reason.
Thank you, grannies.
Really, we're going to have a better product as a result of some of the chaos and some of the delay. It will be there for years to come and serve the community.
Great, thank you, Ruth.
If I could just add as well that having the childcare center where it is, instead of in the back, means that the wetland project that the school worked so hard on is wide open, beautiful, and it's not blocked by any building. So it's a great thought.
Great, awesome, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, no new business, no addendum items. We don't have a closed session. Is there a motion to terminate?
Move termination?
All in favor? Great, thank you all.